And sir, what's your name?
My name is John Natividad, Natividad.
And so, what is your ranking?
I'm a 10th degree Grandmaster in the martial arts. My system is Tong Sudo, Mortal Kwan, Subakdo.
Amazing. Okay. And so, I've been watching a lot of your fights in the 1970s and 1960s. Can you tell me about which one was probably your best one? Which one was your best fight that you feel that you ever had?
My best fight, my first fight as a competitive black belt was against Fred Wren, Whirlwind Fred Wren. It was on the team nationals, Mike Stone's team nationals in Long Beach, California. I knew I was going to fight him, and I was scared to death because I used to watch him on the circuit. You know, tough, fast, and rough. Typical Texan.
And can you tell us about you feel like your worst fight? What was your worst fight you feel like you had?
Worst fight was against, I forgot his name. I could tell probably Michael's singer in the internationals. I was a top competitor, black belt, and I fought him, and he beat me 3-1.
Nice.
Reverse punches. You know, I underestimated him. He was quick, it was fast, and he didn't flinch. You know, I moved, he punched. He was
great.
right there.
So, tell me about, how much martial arts has changed over the years since you were young, and because I know somebody told me you had a school since you were like 19 years old. Can you tell us about how much martial arts has changed over the years?
As far as changes, the techniques and everything else are the same as how you apply it. It's the guys now are much faster and more technical. But, in the old days, we were trained to stop somebody. You could hit somebody, and you knew you got the point, you got the score across. But the new techniques and new people now are much faster, and they do a lot more. They're more versatile. They're more kicks. They're more all the techniques are more precise, faster. But I don't know if it would be comparable to what we did in the 60s, 70s, and the beginning part of the 80s.
A lot of that fighting was a lot more real, I feel, back in the days. And with MMA and the UFC coming out, what's your opinion on the MMA and the UFC? Like, do you think that it's helped our martial arts industry, or?
Yeah, it did. One of the greatest things that happened in the martial arts when UFC started, it was, to the point where a lot of these fallacies, a lot of these guys were going, I would hit you, or I could win, or I could do this. When the UFC came out, it was do or die. They had to learn. They had to know. They had to learn other things. There was the Bruce Lee philosophy was that you took everything, You took what wins for you and you made it your own. No style there was no style. Bruce Lee said that, you took the winning combination and you made it your own. You fought with those combinations. You learned that. You learned from other people. You learned from other styles.
Right. And so, so one of the things that, I'm reading your profile here. You fought for the United States, and you fought back in the 1970s, and you represented the United States karate team. Can you tell us more how the United States karate team was formed?
Well, there was a tournament. 50 of the schools throughout the United States, plus Chuck Norris was invited to compete to see who would be on the team. So there was me, there was Darnell Garcia, Bob Burbage, Ralph Algria. There was 50 of those guys from all over the United States we competed against. They were going to pick the 50 best guys to fight in France in the Olympics. We didn't make it. I got disqualified because they told me I punched a guy too hard, or I punched a guy after the call. They disqualified me. They gave me no warning. They disqualified me. And then Chuck Norris said to his people, he pulled them out. There was me, there was Bob Byrne, Darnell Garcia, and all those. Ralph Algria, we walked out. So we didn't get on the Olympic team. We didn't go to Paris, which I think we would have done real good.
Right. So, can you tell us about Mike Stone? And I know that Mike Stone was a huge advocate in sport martial arts history. Can you tell us about Mike Stone?
Well, he was one of my heroes as I was growing up. He was from Hawaii, and I'm from Hawaii, so very few of the Hawaiian guys at that time were, we followed them. Mike Stone, Elgin Caralia, there was Carlos Bunda, Bernice White, Bernie White, and myself, and Gary Lee, and all those. Mike Stone was an animal. He was one of the blood and guts type person that, he told me one time, told me a story. He bowed in, he asked the guy how much he paid to fight him. The entrance fee was $5. Mike Stone said, "Wow, that's your private lesson right there."
So I noticed that you have a very old school mentality about, how you treat people in etiquette, and like even in my school you offered just pay me gas money, So, but I feel you're such a well-known champion in history that why do you think that giving back is super important to the martial arts community?
Well, you can't train or teach people by not being amiable to them. You got to be able to relate to them. My legacy is I see a lot of people coming up. I see a lot of kids coming up, and they're good at it. You got a culture, develop them. You teach them. You teach them the techniques and the art. The art, it just doesn't come physical means. It comes with the etiquette of being humble. In the old days, the old feudal days in Japan or in the Orient was you started cleaning the restrooms. You cleaned the studio before you started drinking. You humble, you became humble, humility, all those things you had to learn step by step. You know, so when you see somebody that's coming up, you know, you extend your hand. You get more by open handshake than you do fists. That's why when they have this, when they do this, when Mr. Parker told me, the fist is covered by peace.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, sir. Your biography talks about your stay in Hawaii and how you lived there. And your father was in the military, or were you?
My dad was a lifer. My stepdad was a lieutenant colonel in the army. Yeah, he was in the Vietnam War. My real dad was in the Korean and Vietnam War. You know, so I came from a strict military family. You know, so I always wanted discipline that way. You know, so when I was in high school, I was in ROTC. From there, I joined the service, but I got kicked out because I had bad knee problems, 4F. You know, so I started taking karate because I was bullied. I was smacked around all the time.
What was the first karate school that you enrolled in?
In Hawaii, it was my cousin Rick, my brother, his brother was Jerry Martin of Kimpo in Hawaii, in Waiwa, in the gym.
I see.
I took a couple lessons, and at that time I was in high school. I was a sophomore in high school. I went to 2 or 3 classes, and that was it. That was too rough for me.
So back in those days, I hear that, you know, it was white belts were tested, like they were beat up. I hear that a lot from a lot of older martial artists. Is that true? What was your experience as a white belt?
Well, you know, you learn a hard way to respect the high ranks. You didn't talk to a black belt. You went to the greens and to the reds. Yeah, you know, it was a special privilege to talk to a black belt. You respected them, you honored them, you knew that they trained hard, and they trained a lot. Then they taught you. They spent a lot of time with you if they knew that you were coming up.